There is something uniquely unsettling about a post that disappears. Not archived. Not locked. Deleted, the account gone with it, the username returning a hollow page, the comments that referenced it orphaned in threads that no longer have a parent. The internet is supposed to be permanent. The internet forgets nothing. When something on it is erased within hours of appearing, the erasure itself becomes the evidence of something worth erasing. Someone posted to a home security subreddit at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. They described finding evidence in their apartment that someone had been entering while they were at work, not breaking in. Entering. With a key. The post accumulated 43 replies in 2 hours. At 1:50 a.m. the account was deleted. The post went with it. 3 people who had commented saved screenshots. When they tried to reach the user through mutual subreddits, the profile returned nothing, as if the person had never had an account. A user posted from what they described as a rural property in Vermont, detailing a series of photographs they had found on their own phone. Photographs they had not taken of rooms in their house, timestamped during hours they had been asleep. The post was detailed, included descriptions of the images, and asked for help identifying whether their phone had been accessed remotely. It was deleted 40 minutes after posting. The deletion message said the account had been suspended for violating platform guidelines. The post had contained no guideline violation anyone who read it could identify. And the last one. A user posted to a paranormal subreddit with a title that read, "I think I've been documenting my own disappearance without knowing it." The post was detailed, methodical. It laid out 17 days of photographs and location data that the user had only recently examined as a sequence. The post was live for 4 hours and 11 minutes. It received 206 upvotes and 61 comments before deletion. One comment, posted 11 minutes before the deletion, read, "Stop posting. They already know where you are." The comment was from an account created that same day. It has never posted again. 8 posts. 8 accounts. 8 people who used the internet to reach out about something they had witnessed or survived, and were then silenced. What follows is what they said before they disappeared. The post was titled, "I think someone has a key to my apartment," and it appeared at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday in a subreddit for home security and personal safety. The user had been noticing things for 3 weeks before posting. Small things individually dismissible. A window latch she always engaged left unlatched when she returned from work. A kitchen chair pulled slightly from the table when she was certain she had pushed it in before leaving. A smell in the hallway outside her bedroom, not strong, not identifiable, just different from the ambient smell of her own space in the small, specific way that the presence of another person leaves a room altered. She had a deadbolt. She had always used it. She lived alone on the 3rd floor of a building with a keyed lobby door and a keyed apartment door and the standard assumption of security that these features are supposed to provide. She posted because of the food. She had come home from work on a Thursday to find that 2 items in her refrigerator had been moved. Not removed, moved. Her orange juice, which she kept on the right side of the top shelf, was on the left. A container of leftover pasta, which she had stored at the back, was at the front. Nothing was missing. Nothing had been opened. 2 items had been relocated with the casual, incidental handling of someone who had been in her refrigerator looking for something and had simply put things back in a slightly different position. The post accumulated 43 replies in 2 hours. Commenters offered practical suggestions. Change the locks, contact the landlord, check for cameras, file a report with police. Several people asked whether an ex-partner or a building maintenance worker had access. One commenter suggested she leave the apartment immediately and stay with someone. She replied to this comment at 1:32 a.m. She said she was still in her apartment. She said she had decided she was overthinking it. She said she was going to go to sleep and deal with it in the morning. At 1:50 a.m. the account was deleted. Not the post, the account. The post went with it. All 43 replies became orphan comments in a thread that no longer had a parent post. 3 people who had been following the thread took screenshots. In the morning, they compared notes in a reply chain and noted that the deletion had happened 17 minutes after her last reply. They noted something else. Her last reply, "I'm going to go to sleep and deal with it in the morning," had been posted at 1:32 a.m. The account was deleted at 1:50 a.m. At 1:41 a.m., between those 2 timestamps, a new reply had been added to the thread by the original poster. 9 minutes after she said she was going to sleep, the reply contained 4 words. "Someone is in here." Then the account was gone. The 3 people who had screenshots contacted the subreddit's moderators. The moderators confirmed the account had been deleted by the user. They could provide no further information. When pressed on the 1:41 a.m. reply, the moderators said they had no record of a reply at that timestamp. The screenshots show it. 4 words, timestamp confirmed, account username matching the original post. No one has been able to identify the user. No one knows what happened in that apartment between 1:41 and 1:50 a.m. What the comments agreed on in the thread's aftermath was this: a person who is dealing with an intruder does not take 18 seconds to type 4 words and post them. A person who has just realized they are not alone in their home does not compose a sentence. They do something else. Something faster. Unless posting was the only thing they could do. The subreddit was called r/mildly paranormal, a community for accounts that didn't quite rise to the level of the major paranormal forums, the experiences that felt significant but defied the dramatic framing of ghost hunting or supernatural encounters. It had, at the time of the post, approximately 40,000 members and a reputation for thoughtful, grounded discussion. The user posted on a Wednesday morning under the title, "Photos on my phone I didn't take." He was 29, living alone in a rural property in Vermont, an old farmhouse he had rented for its isolation and its price, working remotely for a software company and using the solitude for the kind of focused work that open-plan offices made impossible. He had been at the property for 4 months. He found the photographs while clearing storage space on his phone. 16 images spread across 3 different nights over a 2-week period, all taken between 2 and 4 a.m. All of the interior of his house. His bedroom taken from the doorway, he could see himself asleep in the bed. His kitchen taken from a position near the back door. His living room from the corner near the window. His study from behind his desk chair, close enough to see the documents on the desk surface. He had not taken these photographs. He had been asleep when they were taken. He had not, to his knowledge, enabled any remote access to his phone's camera. He posted 6 of the 16 images with the text redacted on the sensitive content, blurred enough to protect privacy, clear enough to show what they showed. He described the others. He asked whether his phone could have been accessed remotely, whether there was any technical mechanism that could explain images taken at 3 a.m. while he slept. The post received immediate engagement. Technical users offered camera permission audit instructions. Security-focused commenters urged him to check for stalkerware. Several people asked about the photo of him sleeping, specifically about the angle which he had described as being from the doorway at approximately standing height. He replied to this comment. He said the angle was consistent with someone standing in the doorway of his bedroom. He then said, "There are no photographs of the upstairs. I sleep upstairs. All 16 are from the ground floor." Someone replied, "Is there a lock on your bedroom door?" He never answered. The post was deleted 40 minutes after it went up. The account was suspended. The stated reason was a platform guidelines violation. Every person who read the post agreed there was no violation. The images had been appropriately redacted. The content was within the subreddit's parameters. The suspension notice cited no specific rule. 2 people had saved the 6 posted images. They have been examined by people with mobile security expertise. The metadata embedded in the images confirms they were taken on the user's specific phone model. The timestamps match what he described. The images are internally consistent with the property he described. No technical explanation for remote camera activation during sleep mode has been confirmed as applicable to his device. The property still exists. The rental listing went back up 8 weeks after the post. The new listing's photographs show the same rooms. The bedroom door does not have a lock. The post that appeared in our /legal advice at 9:13 a.m. on a Tuesday was titled, "My neighbor has been filing false reports about me for 7 months and I think it's escalating." What made it unusual was not the content, which began as a standard neighbor dispute account, noise complaints filed, police visits that found nothing, a pattern of targeted harassment from the unit adjacent to the poster's apartment. These accounts were common in the subreddit. The advice community handled them routinely. What made it unusual was what the post became by its third update. The user, a woman in her mid-30s based on contextual details she shared, had been living next to the same neighbor for 2 years without incident before the reports began. 7 months of noise complaints, welfare checks, a false report of domestic disturbance, 2 reports of suspicious activity. Every report had been investigated. Every investigation had found nothing. The responding officers had, on 3 occasions, told her off-record that her neighbor appeared to be conducting a campaign against her. She posted asking about her legal options. The community provided useful, standard advice, documentation, restraining order process, building management escalation. She replied in an update 4 hours later. She had spoken to building management. Building management had told her that her neighbor had submitted a formal complaint claiming she was not the legitimate tenant of her unit, that the person living in the apartment was not the person on the lease. She said this was false. She had lived there for 2 years. She had the lease. Building management had shown her the complaint. The complaint included photographs of her entering and leaving the building. The photographs were from the past 6 months, taken from various positions outside the building. The complaint described her physical appearance in detail. It described her routine, her work schedule, the time she left and returned, a specific description of what she carried on Tuesdays when she went to the farmer's market 2 blocks away. The complaint's stated basis for believing she was not the legitimate tenant was this. The person on the lease, according to her neighbor, had moved out 18 months ago. She had not moved out. She had been there continuously. She ended this update with, "I don't know what she thinks she saw or when she thinks I left. I have been here every single day for 2 years. This is my home." The second update came 90 minutes later. A single paragraph. She had pulled her own lease to verify the start date. The lease was in her name. The start date was correct. But in the building management record she had been shown, the file that contained her neighbor's complaint, her listed move-out date was recorded as 14 months ago. Someone had entered a move-out date in the building's records for a tenant who had not moved out. She ended the second update with, "If I don't officially live here, who does?" The post was deleted 3 hours after the second update. She did not delete it. She posted a third update 20 minutes after the deletion, noting that the post had been removed by the moderators and asking people who had engaged with it to contact her through direct message. She was trying to reach people who had offered specific legal advice. No one who tried to reach her through direct message received a response. The moderators stated they had not removed the post. The account that posted to our /nosleep on a Saturday evening had a posting history going back 2 years, short fiction, occasional real experience posts, the profile of a regular and trusted community member. The post it submitted that Saturday was titled, "This is not fiction. I need someone to help me understand what I found." The post described the contents of a storage unit the user had inherited following a parent's death. Among the standard contents of a life in storage, furniture, boxes, documents, they had found a locked metal case. The case had taken a locksmith to open. Inside the case was a collection of notebooks. 11 notebooks, filled with handwritten entries in their parents' handwriting, spanning 17 years. The notebooks were not journals. They were logs. Dated, timed, formatted with the consistency of someone trained in documentation. What they logged was a single address. An address in the city where the poster lived, a city the parent had not lived in, had no professional connection to, had no apparent reason to have documented. The logs described, in precise detail, the daily activity at that address across 17 years. Who entered, who left, what time, what they were wearing, what they carried. Occasionally, what they appeared to be doing in rooms visible from the street. The address was the poster's address. Their parent had been documenting their own child's home for 17 years without disclosure, without apparent purpose, with the systematic, patient methodology of a surveillance operation. The post asked 2 questions: whether anyone had experienced similar discoveries in a deceased parent's belongings, and whether there was any benign explanation they might be missing. The comments were substantive and numerous. People offered interpretations: protective instinct taken to a pathological extreme, an obsessive mental health condition, a documented history of estrangement playing out in surveillance. Others simply expressed their shock. One comment, posted 40 minutes in, asked, "What address were they logging before you moved to that address?" The original poster replied, "I don't know. The notebooks start the month I moved in." The same commenter asked, "Did your parent know your address before you gave it to them?" The poster replied that they had not told their parent the address for the first 3 months after moving, due to a period of estrangement. The commenter replied, "The logs started before you gave them the address?" The poster went quiet for 23 minutes. Then, "I need to check the dates again." They never posted again. The account was deleted 6 hours after the original post. The 214 comments remain orphaned in a thread without a parent. The comment asking about the pre-disclosure dates was deleted with the account. The commenter who had asked the questions has posted nothing since. The post appeared in our /glitch_in_the_matrix at 6:40 p.m. on a Thursday under the title, "I have 2 sets of memories for the same period of time and they are both completely detailed and completely different." The subreddit was dedicated to accounts of perceived reality anomalies, déjà vu, Mandela effect experiences, moments where the world appeared to briefly malfunction. It had a high tolerance for unusual accounts and a community practiced in examining them without dismissal or immediate pathologizing. The user described a specific 2-week period from the previous summer. For that period she had 2 complete sets of memories, not vague or impressionistic, fully detailed, sensory-rich, internally consistent. In one set, she had spent those 2 weeks at her apartment in the city working, seeing friends, maintaining her normal routine. She could describe specific meals, specific conversations, specific evenings in her apartment. In the second set, she had spent those 2 weeks somewhere else. A house she did not recognize, with people she could not identify, doing things she could not fully articulate but that she remembered with the specific physical texture of lived experience. Not imagination, not dreaming, but the memory of things actually done. She had found the discrepancy when she looked at her phone's photo roll for that period. The photos matched the apartment memories. She was in the city, her normal surroundings, the friends she remembered. The photos were geotagged to her address. But she had discovered, 3 months after the period in question, that she had no memory of taking any of those photographs. And that in 2 of them, visible in a mirror in her apartment's background, there was a reflection that did not match what was in the foreground. Not dramatically different, just slightly wrong. The reflection of a room that was not quite the room being photographed. She had attached the photographs to the post. The comments were engaged and analytical. Several people with photography backgrounds examined the images and offered explanations. Lens distortion, exposure artifacts, the geometric tricks that mirrors and cameras produce in combination. The explanations were technically coherent. One commenter said they had zoomed in on the reflection in the second photograph and identified a detail that was not visible at standard resolution. They described it in their comment, declining to post the zoomed image publicly. The original poster replied asking the commenter to share the detail through direct message. The commenter's reply was their last post in the thread. It said, "I don't think I should." 40 minutes later, the original post was gone. The commenter's account was gone. The screenshots that other users had taken of the attached photographs showed the photographs at standard resolution, the reflections visible but not examined. No one who saw the zoom detail has described what it showed. The one person who did see it decided not to share it, and then deleted their account. The post in r/TrueOffMyChest was titled, "I watched a live stream last night that I cannot find any record of today, and it was posted at 7:15 a.m. on a Monday by an account with 4 years of history." The user described watching a live stream the previous night, not on a major platform but on a smaller streaming service he used occasionally for niche content. The stream had appeared in his recommended feed at approximately 11 p.m. The thumbnail was dark, the title was a set of coordinates, the viewer count showed 47. He had clicked it. The stream showed a room. Bare walls, concrete floor, a single overhead light. The camera was fixed, not a person holding it, mounted. In the center of the frame, a desk. At the desk, a person. From the camera angle, he could see them from behind, seated, facing away from the camera, apparently looking at something on the desk that wasn't visible in frame. The stream had no audio. No chat. The chat panel was present but empty, no messages, no viewer interaction. He watched for 20 minutes. The person at the desk did not move. At the 20-minute mark, the person turned around. He described what he saw for the next 4 sentences of the post. Then he wrote, "I'm not going to describe the face. I don't want to write it down." He watched for 3 more minutes. Then he closed the stream. In the morning he searched for the stream on the platform. No record. He searched the coordinates from the title. They resolved to a location in a rural area of Eastern Europe. He searched for any related streams, any account that might have hosted it. Nothing. He posted asking whether anyone else had seen it, whether the platform had a mechanism for streams that disappeared after broadcast, whether coordinates as a stream title were a known format for any particular community. 42 people replied. 39 of them offered practical explanations. 2 said they had seen something similar, different platforms, different content, the same quality of unverifiability afterward. 1 replied with a single sentence, "Don't search the coordinates again." The original poster replied asking why. The single sentence commenter replied, "Because the first search is how they know someone found it. The second search is how they find you." The original poster's account was deleted 90 minutes after the post. The single sentence commenter's account, created the previous week with no other posting history, was deleted at the same time. The 2 users who had described similar experiences have not posted in either of their respective accounts since. The coordinates have been searched by people who read the archived screenshots. They resolved to the location described. What is at that location has been examined through satellite imagery. There is a building. It has 1 room with a single window. The window is dark in every available satellite image, across every available date, except one. One image from a specific date that no one who has identified it will post publicly. In that image the window is lit. The account was 6 months old and had posted exclusively in hiking and outdoor subreddits when it submitted a post to r/missing411, a community dedicated to accounts of unusual disappearances and experiences in wilderness areas, under the title, "I think I walked out of a different forest than the one I walked into." The post was long, detailed. The user described a solo hiking trip to a national forest in the Pacific Northwest. A trail he had hiked twice before, a route he knew, a day trip with a planned turnaround. He had parked at the trailhead at 8 a.m. He had his usual kit, pack, water, navigation, the standard preparation of an experienced day hiker. At the turnaround point, he took his usual photographs. He noted the time, 11:40 a.m., 20 minutes ahead of his expected pace. He began the return. He reached the trailhead at 2:55 p.m. The return trip had taken 3 hours and 15 minutes. The outbound trip had taken 3 hours and 40 minutes. The return, over the same terrain in the same conditions, should have taken less than the outbound. Experienced hikers consistently move faster on familiar ground on the return. 3 hours 15 minutes for a downhill return over a trail he knew was not possible under normal conditions. He had lost time. Or gained distance. He could not determine which. But this was not what prompted the post. What prompted the post was the photographs. The turnaround photographs, taken at 11:40 a.m. time-stamped, showed the correct location. The landmark he always photographed at the turnaround, a specific rock formation, was visible and correct. The photographs he had taken on the return, casually, periodically, the kind of incidental documentation hikers accumulate, showed a trail he did not recognize. Not dramatically different. Not a different mountain, not different vegetation. But the specific trail in those photographs was not the trail he knew. The route patterns were different. The sight lines through the trees were different. One photograph showed a trail marker, and the marker's number was not a number on that trail's marker system. He had not noticed during the return. He had been walking familiar ground, his body on autopilot, his mind elsewhere. He had not noticed until he reviewed the photographs at home. He had walked out of a different trail than the one he had walked in on. The post asked whether anyone had experienced something similar. Whether there was a documented phenomenon of trails in that forest system that connected in unexpected ways. Whether his experience had a rational cartographic explanation. The comments were thoughtful. Experienced hikers, people familiar with the specific forest, several people who offered detailed knowledge of the trail system. No one could account for the marker number in the photograph. One commenter said they recognized the marker number. They said it was from a trail segment that had been decommissioned and physically removed in 2019, following a series of incidents in that area that they declined to specify. They said the trail no longer existed. They said, "You walked out on a trail that isn't there anymore. I'd like to know how." The original poster replied that they wanted to know too. That was their last reply. The account was deleted 4 hours after the post. The commenter who had identified the marker remained active for 6 more days. Then that account was also deleted. The trail segment in question has been researched by people who followed the thread. The decommissioning records are publicly accessible. The trail was removed in 2019. The reason cited in the decommissioning records is listed as access closed pending review of area incidents. The review has never been published. The last post is the one that the title of this video was built around, and I want to tell it with the care it requires. The account was 2 years old. It had posted in finance subreddits, in photography communities, in a subreddit for people living with chronic illness. The profile of a complete, ordinary person living a complete, ordinary life. The kind of account that makes you understand, when it disappears, that a real human being was behind it. The post appeared in r/paranormal at 9:47 p.m. on a Sunday. The title was, "I think I've been documenting my own disappearance without knowing it." The post was methodical. It did not begin with drama. It began with the user explaining that they had been having episodes of what they had assumed was dissociation. Periods of several hours where their memory was incomplete, where they could account for the beginning and the end of a period but not its middle. They had been managing this for 5 months. They had attributed it to a medication interaction and had been working with a doctor to address it. 3 weeks before the post, they had begun finding evidence of what happened during these episodes. Not from others telling them. From themselves. They had, during these episodes and without conscious awareness, been taking photographs and saving them to a private cloud folder they did not remember creating. They had been writing notes in a notes application in a different font than they used, a font they had not selected and could not identify. They had been sending emails to a draft folder that were never sent, composed, detailed, addressed to no one. They had examined this material over the course of 3 weeks, and they had come to understand that whatever was happening during their episodes, they had been trying to document it. The photographs showed locations, unremarkable locations, streets and buildings and interiors. The notes described sensations and observations. The unfinished emails appeared to be attempts to report something to someone, abandoned before completion. They had assembled the 17 days of material into a sequence, and the sequence, examined as a whole, told a story they did not recognize, a story about being followed. The photographs, examined in sequence, showed the same figure in the background of 14 of them. Not prominently, not the subject of any photograph. In the background, at varying distances, in different locations. The same figure in the same dark jacket, across 14 photographs taken over 17 days in at least 6 different locations. The notes described the sensation of being watched, of losing time in locations where they had not intended to be, of finding themselves in unfamiliar areas without clear memory of how they had arrived. The unfinished emails were addressed to a field that was blank, the address line empty, as if they had been trying to send them to someone whose contact information they could not remember. The final unfinished email, composed 3 days before the post, contained one line: "I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do this." The poster ended the post with 2 questions. Whether anyone had experienced similar episodes and found documentation of them, and whether the photograph sequence they had described was something that could be explained. 206 people upvoted it. 61 people commented. The comments ran from the empathetic to the analytical to the frightened, people offering mental health resources, people offering surveillance identification techniques, people who were clearly shaken by the account. At 1:38 a.m., 11 minutes before the post was deleted, a new comment appeared from an account created that same day. "Stop posting. They already know where you are." The post was deleted at 1:49 a.m. The account was gone with it. The day-old commenter's account was deleted at the same time. One person had screenshotted the final comment. They posted it in a follow-up thread the next morning, noting the synchronization of the 2 deletions, the original account and the warning account disappearing at the same timestamp. They asked whether anyone else had archived the post. They received one reply. An account with no posting history created that morning. The reply said the post was real. The person is fine. Please don't look for them. That account was also deleted within the hour. 3 accounts. All gone. The original poster, the person who warned them, and the person who asked not to look. Deleted at different times for apparently different reasons with apparently different motives. All saying, in their own way, the same thing. Stop. 8 posts. 8 accounts. 8 people who reach toward the internet the way people reach toward any available light when they are in the dark, and were then pulled back from it so quickly that the reaching was all that remained. The home security post that ended with 4 words and a deletion. The Vermont photographs of a sleeping person taken by no one. The building records that showed a tenant who had moved out without leaving. The parents' 17 years of logs that began before the address was given. The photographs with reflections that showed the wrong room. The live stream that no platform will confirm existed. The trail that was walked out of after being decommissioned 3 years ago. And the person who had been documenting their own disappearance, who received a warning 11 minutes before they were silenced, and of whom someone said, "Please don't look for them." The internet deletes things for mundane reasons every day. Platform violations, user decisions, moderation errors. The ordinary digital housekeeping of a system that produces more content than it can sustainably hold. But deletion within hours is different. Deletion with the account. Deletion at the moment of specific escalation. At the 4 words, at the question about the pre-disclosure dates, at the commenter who saw the zoomed photograph. That kind of deletion has a shape. And the shape is not maintenance. It is response. Something, in each of these cases, was paying attention to what was being posted. Was reading the thread as it developed. Was waiting for the moment the post arrived at the specific detail that mattered. And removing it then. Not before. Not after. At the moment the right question was asked. The next time you read a thread that ends abruptly, that has orphan comments reaching toward a parent post that no longer exists, read those orphan comments carefully. They are what was said in the minutes before someone decided the conversation had gone far enough. They are the shape of what was almost known. And somewhere, in the account history of someone who deleted everything and never came back, is the rest of the story. The part that didn't make it out. If this unsettled you, you're not alone.